Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel on Ino, and today I want to talk about Red Hood, our newest addition to the Pilgrim rosters. And I'll be honest, I won't beat around the bushes. I really hate clickbaiting titles in the last couple of days that's been going around. No, Red Hood is not mid. No, Red Hood, it is not better than Alice. She has her own niche. She has her own attack values. Okay, so let's get to it. And she is a burst. You can see it's no longer 1, 2, 3, right? I wonder how the burst tier is going to be. How some people is going to classify it. She is a burst 1, 2, and 3 flexible characters. She has her skill 1 will increase her burst 1 performance. It also increases her charge speed, and after 10 attacks, you will reach maximum. Burst 2 in Gears Pierce, increase her defense and increase the amount of attack she buffs herself during Burst 3. It also increased the amount of lifesteal she has during Burst 2. Okay, and lastly, her Burst 3. Her Burst 3 is a jack of all trades skill. You can use them at Burst 1, 2, and 3 interchangeably. And it has a built-in 40-second cooldown reduction on the first time you use them. So this means that you can use her as burst 1, 2, 3 all in one run, or you can use her as burst 1, having someone else as burst 2, and you can use her as burst 3 again. I recommend to do that because her burst 2, in all honesty, it is not good compared to a lot of the other burst 2 characters we have available in this game. Okay, her burst 1 is actually quite a bit, 77% attack boost for 10 seconds. This means that she actually beats the amount of attack boost that our leader can provide. She is so far one of the best for burst 1 booster. The only issue is that her burst 1 is on a 40-second cooldown. There is not too many people that is synergized with her right now. The only two available characters are Sakura and Milk in terms of providing additional attack. And I'll go to that later. You want for her skill priorities, you mainly want to do 5, 5, 7 first. And later on, you want to do 7, 7, 10. And depending how far you want to push the rest of her kit, like whether you use her as the main attack or you don't use her as main attack, it really depends on what you want to do with it. But let's see here really quick. But overall, 7, 7, 10 is a good start. The first skill is good for her burst 1 buffs. The second skill is good for her burst attack output. So it depends on what role you want to put her, add those skills accordingly. Okay. And lastly, let's see. Currently, surprisingly, even though our Twitters, our Reddits, and all the Discord is blowing up saying that she sucks, she's mid, she's not great. Most of the tier list in Asia and Japan list her as one of the top tier characters, right? I maybe don't fully agree with that. I think if you want to separate all her bursts together, her burst 1 is probably just one tier below the top tier due to the fact that it's a 40-second cooldown that deducts some points. Her burst 3 is also not as good and powerful as the top 4, which is Alice, Modernia, Scarlet, and Summer Annie's. However, she is right below them. Okay, single shot. On single target characters though, she is roughly about 0.65, 0.7 Scarlet, which equals the similar amount of output that Alice has during burst. When you do full auto. Both of your full auto does right about the same amount of damage if you put in similar resources together. Currently, there's a lot of people complaining that when they compare Alice against her, their Alice is all maxed out, while the Red Hood is not. which is effing ridiculous. I'm sorry, but currently that's where she is. She is also a minor AoE character, so this means that she is actually relatively good in a non-single damage, non-target single target bosses. For a lot of times, the boss has multiple parts that you can hit, which is great, and great for damage, and great for great for damage and great for her as well. As you can see, you can use A, D, and you can use that again. And right after that, you can use her burst again. And during her burst, you can see there's piercing, and this boss doesn't have multiple attack, but you can see that her burst actually hits not just one character, but there's a very small AoE around her that can actually get all the enemy around too. So it's not a really fair comparison if you're comparing the single target piercing, a single target damage of a full fast click / macro Alice against her, because they have two separate usages. Okay. And at the same time, of course, she does less damage than Scarlet on a single target damage. She also deals less damage than Modernia, and also, of course, Summer Annie's. She is just a much better character against cores and the enemy that requires precision targeting. Okay, but however, let's go to her required equipment overalls. She is her buffs is based on her own attack value, unlike some other character that's been released before. So I think this shifts up's purpose of making us to level up different characters. So if you want to use her for burst 1, you want to at least have the helmet, the body, and the arm overloaded, or maybe tier 5 as tier 9 level 5, if not overloaded. And if you want to use her for burst 3, then of course you want everything overloaded, because each one of those overload stats will add quite a bit. What is her most important overload stat? Her most important overload stat will be attack and elemental damage. These are her two biggest boost performance. Adding attack onto each maximum attack adds her damage output by about 10%. Okay, same goes to elemental damage, but that only affects, a little bit higher for elemental damage, but that really only affects the bosses that is good against electric type, right? So you also have crit rate, charge damage, and crit damage and charge rate. However, something to note is that both crit stats and charge stats does not boost her damage all that much, due to the fact that her own kit already adds a bunch of charge speed, and the sniper rifle has built-in crit in them when you hit the core too. It increases about, I believe, the charge rate, and charge damage adds about 3.5 to 3.9% attack overall damage increase in a normal rotations, and the crit stats only adds about 1.5. And for her, more importantly, you want to do crit damage. Crit damage will add a little, charge damage will add a little bit more beneficial stats on her. As for ammo really doesn't do much on her, due to the fact that her burst is not ammo dependent. Her burst is 99 bullets that she can just fire off as much as she wants within a 10-second period. Typically, she fires about 33 bullets on average. And because of that, her cube is also not very reliant. You can she's good. I'm sorry, I forgot something. She's good if you want to get about 1 or 2 maximum ammo on her. You can use bastions once you have 1 or 2 plus ammos on her. If not, try with resilience, probably better. She's also really good with wingman. I wouldn't say really good. Each one of her cubes really only increase her damage output by about 3%. The best, both Bastion and Resilient, only increase her total damage output in rotation by 32%. Why? Because her main damage is from her Burst 3, and her Burst 3 is not affected by either reload speed or additional bullets. It just matters on your cube level and the amount of attack boost she receives. So if you want to use her as Burst 3, honestly, any cube will work. Find the easiest cube for you to use. If you don't like long reloads, put resilience. If you're fine with long reload, you can use if you think she has a better ammo capacity. If you happen to have more plus ammo rolls on your overload gear, use not resilience. Use a bastion because she will get more shots out of it. And that is pretty much it. PvP, she is your very much standard sniper rifle character. She is a good replacement for leader in PvP, even though we don't really use leader all that much as well, because of the fact that she does a pretty massive 77% attack boost, right? And so lastly, where would I want to place her on the tier list? I wouldn't say she is the top tier, even though that's what a lot of the Asian reviewing site is saying. I would say she is 1 tier below on the tier from everyone, from the top tier on the Burst 1, which means she is just slightly below both Leader and Dorothy, due to the fact that her Burst 1 is on a 40-second cooldown. If they change that to a 20-second, she would definitely be among the best Burst 1, maybe even beat Leader in her all utilities. Her Burst 2 is just junk, maybe tier 3 or tier 4 from the top, depending on how the tier system you guys, the website want to do. SS, like A tier, maybe B tier, whatever, maybe like a 7 point something on Nikkei.gg. And if you want to use her Burst 3, like I said, her Burst 3 single target damage, no multi-hit, she is the same level as Alice, especially when consider the fact that her overload gear is much easier to do than Alice, because Alice requires specifically charge speed for her maximum potential to work. Red Hood, not so much. All you really want, charge damage, charge speed, crit attack, crit damage, doesn't really matter. Why? Because it adds so little and they all add similar amount. You just really want to have at least 1 attack on all her gears, and either attack or elemental attack. And that's pretty much it. She's a much beginner friendly to build character to build than Alice, I would say. So when some veteran player pet her, in which honestly most people doesn't even have her gear at the tier 5, and they compare to their rank 5 tier 10 level 5 Alice with maximum charge speed and a bunch of other gears, it is not a very fair comparison. But what does it leave her? I think she is roughly about the same level as A2 and the B2 to A2, and maybe a little bit above 2B. Given solo raids and union raids, most bosses has multiple hits, so maybe even slightly better than A2, to be completely honest with you. I think she trails right below the big 4, maybe tie with Snow White depending on the boss. Snow White will beat her on a single core boss, and she will beat Snow White on multiple if the boss happens to have multiple damage parts nearby. Well, with that being said, that concludes my review for Red Hood. Please leave a like if you find my guide helpful, if you find the points also make sense to you. There is been debating petitions on both Reddit and Twitters and everything else that try to get Red Hood buff. I'm not sure it's absolutely necessary, but it will be great to see her getting buff because the anniversary string shows her doing about like 1 million damage, which is I kind of feel like a false advertisement when you actually finally get her in game and she doesn't deal as much damage. She is also supposed to be rumored to be one of the strongest pilgrim out there, but then of course the team play does the current gameplay doesn't show that much, right? So she's definitely very, very hyped character, but her current performance doesn't match the hype. And I think that's where the negative reviews are. But it doesn't mean she's not good. She is still a very, very good unit. It's just not as great as some people expect her to be. Well, with that being said, thank you very much for watching my guide and reviews. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.